Hi, this is Steve Rigolosi, and tonight on Forgotten Mysteries, I have for you The Make-Believe Man by Elizabeth Fenwick. This is copyright 1963 by Harper, and as you can see, it is a Harper novel of suspense, one of my favorite mystery imprints, mostly because the longtime editor had Joan Kahn had wide-ranging tastes and acquired and published all kinds of different mysteries. She loved a good whodunit, but you name it, she was interested in it if it was well written and well plotted and suspenseful. So whenever I see a novel labeled a Harper novel of suspense, if I haven't heard of the writer, I usually will give that person the benefit of the doubt because they were published by this imprint. I don't know that imprints have that kind of brand loyalty that they did back in the day. I can't think of, like, for example, we all know Knopf is an amazing publisher, but I don't say, oh, just because it's published by Knopf, I've got to read it. So I think this is kind of from a different era of mystery publishing, one that frankly I wish we could get back to, but that's a different story. So a little bit about the writer, Elizabeth Fenwick. I haven't been able to find a lot of information about her, except that she was moderately prolific, wrote about maybe 15, 16 books, mostly mysteries. And the most interesting biographical detail I could find about her is that she was friends with Flannery O'Connor. So they met when they were living together living at a writer's colony, and they became quite close friends. I mean, could you imagine being friends with Flannery O'Connor? Boy, that would have made for some interesting dinner discussions, right? Because she was something else. If you've never read her short stories, please do. They're really intense and unique. That whole Southern Gothic, and just like they hit you over the head. Flannery O'Connor was great. So in doing some research for this video, what I come to learn is that Elizabeth Fenwick was very, very well reviewed in her time, quite respected by the critics, and in fact, The Make-Believe Man was nominated for an Edgar. So that is very high praise for a book, then as now. And this is what I think critics would call a deceptively simple book. And by that I mean the plot is very, very simple. There's no subplot. It's short. I think it's a little under 200 pages. And it is a story of two people squaring off against each other, almost like a play. Like, have you ever seen the play Oleana? It's a two-character play. It's one of my favorites by David Mamet. But what you can do when you get two people who are just coming from different places and not speaking the same language, having them interact and that kind of conflict, that can be so riveting. And I found that to be the case with this book. So I'll just tell you the plot in a nutshell, because, like I said, it's simple. So our heroine, Norma Hovick, is a recent widow. She has an 11-year-old son, Jimmy, and after her husband's death, she goes home to live with her mother until she figures out what her next step is. And they're a happy family. She and her mother get along well. And as the book opens, Norma's mother is leaving. She's going to her son's house, who lives kind of in the suburbs. The book takes place in Detroit. And because her son's wife is having a baby, and the tradition of the mother going to help out the first couple days or couple weeks, just with some child care or household care or what have you. So Norma is left alone in the house with her son, and she's not a scaredy cat. She's not, oh God, I'm terrified to be here alone. She's strong and not a fraidy cat. But but what happened was before Norma came home, her mother had taken in a boarder by the name of Cliff, and he was a good boarder, polite, paid on time. Norma's mother and he, would have chats, and they had a nice sort of landlady-tenant relationship. But she had to ask him to leave because when her daughter and grandson come to the house, she just doesn't have the room anymore for him. And so, he's disappointed, but he understands, right? Family has to come first. And Norma has heard of him, but she's never met him or anything. But there are no problems that she has heard of or that her mother has told her about or anything like that. Well, no sooner does Norma's mother leave for her son's house than Cliff shows up at the house, and he's acting very weird. He basically kind of barges his way in and says, my life hasn't been the same since I moved out, and I really want to come stay here again. I don't care where you put me. I'll sleep on the couch or in the basement or wherever, but I want to come back. And Norma, having a good head on her shoulders, she's like, I don't think so. Right? It was too, she was getting strange vibes off him, and she thought, I got to get him out of here. So she says no in no uncertain terms, and he leaves rather unwillingly. And that's when the story ratchets up, because he increasingly stalks Norma and the house in his effort to get back in. He wants to get back in. And we kind of find out where he's staying, and he's despite his sort of pleasant exterior, if you look only at the outside, he's a pretty messed up guy. And Norma has to deal with this sort of escalating issue of is he a danger? Is he just kind of a kooky weirdo, or is he really a danger? Because she's got an 11-year-old son to watch out for too. And she and the son have a nice relationship. He's not really well drawn. He's just sort of like a typical 11-year-old boy, but he's a nice kid, and he and Norma have a nice mother-son relationship. And thus are sown the seeds of terror as Cliff ratchets up, and Norma tries to protect herself by calling in the police and asking the neighbors for their help. And we come to find out, when the police get involved, a lot about Cliff's past and things that he has been accused of, and they are not savory at all. So there's just this, right from the beginning of the book, there's this very nice rising action where the suspense keeps just ratcheting up a notch. It's added to by the next door neighbors, who are kind of the neighbors from hell. And you've known people like this. People who put on this sweet demeanor, like, oh, all they care about is your well-being, and they love you more than anything, and they only want what's best for you. Whereas they're actually very controlling and manipulative. And that's what the neighbors, Norma's next door neighbors, are here. So she's, while trying to deal with this nut, she's also trying to figure out how to prevent herself from getting entangled in her nosy neighbor's web. So that's it. That is the book. We have to figure out what is going to happen between Norma and Cliff, and does he have violent intent? How far is he willing to go? What will Norma do? Will she stay or will she flee? And it just makes for a very, very involving read. I mean, you could read it in 2 nights, or even one, I bet, if you just had a bunch of hours on your hand. The writing is I want to say straightforward, but I have to say, I thought Fenwick just did a really nice job of, with her prose, of tightening the noose little by little by little. She was very, her prose was very spare and economical. And she kept her eye on the prize of this, what we would call today domestic suspense. And, excuse me, I think that that term domestic suspense has kind of had ups and downs over the years, right? Like, I think some people in the past, or maybe even today, may have used it a little pejoratively to mean, oh, that's a woman's book. That's a book with a damsel in distress, and, not much more to it than that. And, really, how much suspense can you really have in a household? And then, there are other critics who say this is absolutely a subgenre where excellent work has been done, such as by people like Charlotte Armstrong. And I am of the latter category. I think when well done, domestic suspense is great, because if you just think about it, right? Think about your neighbors, and what goes on behind closed doors. You never know, right? Like, the happy-go-lucky family could have substance abuse and physical abuse problems, or money troubles, or just all of these things. I mean, the family is really fertile ground for suspense, because there's a lemon in every basket, as Charlotte Armstrong would say, is the title of one of her books, Lemon in the Basket. And in a way, the danger is all that much closer, right? Because these are people under your roof or close to you who you're letting into your home. And if you let the wrong person into your home, you could really be in deep doo-doo very quickly. And not romantic suspense, domestic suspense is particularly well done when things start out fine, and then little by little, the villain starts to show their true colors, until you realize, wow, there's really a threat here, and something really bad can happen. That's often an arc in a book like this, and that is what happens here. But it's all very effective. So if you like this genre, I would say go ahead and look for Elizabeth Fenwick. I've researched some of her other books too. All well received for the time, and she was very respected. And she really can teach a master class on how to create suspense. She does just a standout job with that. So even though I'd never heard of Elizabeth Fenwick before I found her in this used bookstore, this cool used bookstore in Massachusetts, I was really glad that I have found somebody new to add to my list of authors to look for when I go to used bookstores. I mean, as if that list isn't long enough to begin with, but whatever. A list can never be long enough, right? Like that. It's like, that list is basically thicker than my wallet at this point, but whatever, that's a different story. So I would like to recommend, if you are into domestic suspense and this kind of almost play drama type plot where it's really two characters going head to head, that you check out Elizabeth Fenwick and the Make-Believe Man. The key on the cover, at first I thought, oh, this cover's, it's okay, not so special, but it's actually, the image is really very, very representative of the book, in that Norma realizes that Cliff is up to no good when she realizes that he has stolen a key to the house while she was not looking. And that's her first sign, okay, bad things may be on the way. Okay, so that's what I've got for you tonight. I've actually had this book on my pile to make a video for a while, but life and work get in the way. I hope all of you are well and enjoying lots of great reading, that spring has sprung. Hope you're enjoying some nicer weather wherever you are, and I will be back next time. Thanks and good night.